Hi, I'm Demi Stevens, founder and CEO of You're the Book Press and editor-in-chief of Self Pub Magazine. I'm psyched to be here in the studio today with author Laura Rudacille. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Were you always an author?
No, I think like many women wearing lots of hats. I am a hairstylist and own my own salon.
Well, you probably have really amazing hats though, right?
I do have some good hats.
What's it like owning a salon?
Well, the exciting part is it's pretty much different every hour. So you have a new person in your chair, a new personality, and it's a lot of things. I mean, certainly there's the technical aspects and the training that go into it, but what I really love is connecting and building the relationship with the people in the chair.
When did you first get an idea that maybe there was a book in you?
Well, I don't know. I certainly had never any intention of writing one, but clients started to say, when you come in and you ask people how they're doing, well, what's going on with you? And I started to realize that they were sort of interested in what I was telling. And I think when you do things sort of well, you don't realize that you're doing something necessarily different or special. So I don't know. It just sort of happened. It was
Which book came first?
Here's the Thing was first. And it's just sort of a culmination of all things crazy. We all have had family events that, the uncle is crazy, the aunt is crazy, something happens, somebody falls into the birthday cake, those kinds of things.
No, that's just your dysfunctional
just my family, of course.
Mine is completely normal.
And I don't know why, again, just sort of a trait, I tend to see the humor even in the chaos of something. So a coping mechanism maybe, but it was just something that pulled together lots of crazy things together, and I mentioned it to my brother actually, and I said, what do you think if I sort of put this all together into a book? And he said, do it. And for some reason I listened.
Now, did you sit down at the computer and type it all out?
Well, at the time I didn't own a computer, so it was a handwritten page after page and a long process. And as it became a year for my first handwritten draft, I said to a girlfriend, well, it'll never be a book because I don't type, I don't have a computer. And this is when friends surprise you. And she said, actually, give it to me. So she actually took my handwritten pages and put it into a draft. So by the end of year 2, I had a Microsoft Word document, bought a computer, and kept pursuing. Certainly was a long learning process for the first one.
Did you have support from your clients at that point? Were you talking about writing? Or
they were extremely supportive and my biggest cheerleaders, and really stuck with me through the 5-year process. How's it coming? Is it coming? Will there be one? And when that launch night came, and I actually had a launch party at the salon and had 500 books pre-sold, it was wonderful. Because
note to all you writers out there:
get a salon and start talking.
When you have a huge client base.
Well, it's important, regardless of if it's 10 people or 2 people or 50 people. Just talk about what you're doing. People want to know your process.
So you moved from book 1, romantic piece, funny comedy, okay?
Yes.
I think for me, anything that's set at a wedding
yes.
has to have romance even in there,
yes.
even if the bride and groom aren't people I would marry. How did you make the leap to Saltwater Cowboy?
Well, I think Saltwater Cowboy was always sort of a tickle in my mind because of vacationing in Chincoteague. It's beautiful. It inspires that. Of course, there's always the hope that you're going to see a saltwater cowboy while in Chincoteague, Virginia, so that all gets our hearts going a little bit. But I think it was really after a 5-year process of Here's the Thing, and it went to editing, which we all know is a long process, and there was that period of 5 weeks when the editor had it and I couldn't touch it, and after writing for 5 years all the time, I sort of was idle. And at the time, my son was taking guitar lessons, and I needed to fill the time in the car, so I took a journal, and I hate to say this out loud, but Saltwater Cowboy poured out of me in 2 weeks. And the editing process was 6 weeks.
We hate you.
But then I did what we all do, and I stuck it in a drawer for 2 years. So
you're back in my good graces.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was just, I think as all of us, when we hit that whatever, I didn't intend to be a romance writer, and I don't necessarily want to be I haven't settled on a genre quite yet, but it was the story that was meant to be told at that time.
Do you find that the characters from your books become real to you? Do they speak in your head, or?
So real that sometimes you take on a reader, when they challenge you a little bit, and they become so real that I'm defending something that's fiction. I would say things to my older son at the time when I was writing it that Rudy is a character in Saltwater Cowboy who's the fire chief, and he's very burly and brusque, and I love him. And I would say, Rudy is so funny. And Mason would just say, Mom, Rudy is you, and then you realize that you're a little bit multi-personality disorder, and it's the best thing in the world to have all those people living.
Are there elements of you in any of the other characters?
I think there have to be. There have to be your experiences, whether they're male or female. I think that certainly happens, and the experiences that Jess and Murphy have in Saltwater Cowboy are things I did. And then transitioning to Invisible Woman, of course, that being a female perspective and the struggles I really pulled from my clients in my chair. Love women of all ages, especially the older ones, and they have such wisdom just from living and surviving. And when you're struggling in that midlife 40, 50 transition of going from an individual who's strong and determined to a caregiver of children, or climbing the ladder corporate, whatever you're doing, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. The struggles and the challenges that face everyone are very, very similar. So
what is your main protagonist facing in Invisible Woman?
Well, Jillian, it's sort of hard. I think that she would be the lead, although it's three best friends and they sort of equally share the struggle. Jillian is post-cancer, and my sister was diagnosed, treated, and is very healthy now. But I remember, and again, with other women that I've met, those blood test results that you go for those years after, and so she's told, you're good, you're healthy, go live again, and to take that step and really trust. So she pulls in her friends and really, so Jillian is just how to really let go and find joy and live again. She is a writer, so trying to rediscover her muse is something that I had identified with at one point, and I think the other women are struggling with other issues, but as you say, it's a little bit of me in all of them. So there's, of course, the guru who knows all and is the goddess Carla. So I do take praise in the fact that I'm in her too, thank goodness. So even if I don't know how to apply the wisdom, hopefully the wisdom is in there somewhere.
It's just bubbling up to the top. I can sense it now. Would you mind to talk about, so many writers write that book that's been in their dream pool for a while, and then they're not sure how to take it, how to make anything else besides that one book out of things. And what I see happening with you and Invisible Woman is a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit here. Now, in the nonfiction field, it tends to be very common for someone to write a book and then go and speak about the topic.
Certainly.
Because it's nonfiction. How have you done this with your fiction?
Well, I think it was very interesting. A few years ago, I had a woman who's become a friend who ran women's counseling groups. And she contacted me out of the blue, I didn't know her, and said that Invisible Woman was the first fiction book she used to speak to one of her groups. She felt it was very applicable and relatable. And that was something, I certainly am not a therapist, although I play one behind the chair. I like to say I am an expert on giving my opinion, but it is a true, I don't want to say a struggle. It is something every woman faces. So again, I wrote the retreat that I wanted to attend. Women are reading it and saying, can I go? And I think absolutely yes. And my hashtag, so to speak, is growth through sharing. When we share time as women, we grow. And if we stop keeping all the secrets to ourselves, we'll help someone. And what you've struggled and survived will help someone else struggle and survive. And I just think there's real magic there. And
I think so many times we look at one of our friends who seems to be so perfect on the surface, and we just transfer all this mental, like, you're too perfect, I hate you. Are there any women like that in your book?
Absolutely. Sarah is definitely the got it all together mom, perfect job, perfect children, perfect husband, perfect family.
Yeah, I hate her too.
Yes. and you'll see that very early on in the book when her friends sort of dismiss her. Why are you here? Why are, you don't need to be here. You have it all. And she'll just sort of mutter under her breath, it's harder than you think. And I think recently I was at a businesswoman's get-together, and there was a woman who I really, truly admire who's climbed to the upper levels of her company. And we were at a small group then talking, and she led the group as everybody go around, what are you struggling with? And nobody asked her. And I didn't even think to ask her because she's at the upper crust. What could she? And finally, one of the people was insightful enough to say, what do you need to work on? And she had a whole list. And it was very humbling for me to realize that even she, who is looked at as the done, checked it all off the list, still has things to grow, still has insecurities, nobody is not facing something every day. And as women, we face something every hour, every minute, our mood changes. Yes. So I think that when we talk about it, we grow and we become goddesses. And I don't mean that in a fanciful way, but just that seasoned, that 80-year-old who stays in her slip all day, not for fashion, just because she might be going out, she might be going to bed, she's figured it out, and she doesn't explain herself. She doesn't qualify, justify. She just is. And there are times I want to just know who that woman is. And I'll get there, and I'll laugh the whole way.
And I'll cheers you with a martini.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you so much for sharing and joining us today.
You're welcome.